The Big Footy Port Adelaide podcast is proudly sponsored by New Vision.
My team, kinda power. I love the power. I love the power.
Hi and welcome to the Big Footy Port Adelaide podcast, a weekly show dedicated to the Port Adelaide Footy Club. I'm your host, Macca 19, and joining me, as always, as co-host, we've got Fishing Rico 4. How are you, mate?
Oh, yeah, not bad, Macca. Friggin' excited, mate. What a bloody weekend of footy we've got coming up, and what a massive game, and we're going to hopefully knock that 10-game hoodoo off, and finally Geelong's playing their third game here in 5 years. Isn't that fantastic?
5 years? About 10 years, I reckon.
5 years, 2008.
Is it? Okay, fair enough.
Do you want me to bring up the stats?
No, it's all right. I believe you. That's all right.
And in a while, we do play at Skilled Stadium a lot. Sorry about that.
That's it. That's right. And I guess you've just heard him there this evening. He's a new member to our Big Footy family. We're talking with Sulstar.
G'day, guys.
How you going?
Good.
That's the way. Now, just before we get started, let's find out a little bit about your Port background, mate. How did you become a Port supporter?
Yeah, through family friends. They living out at Semaphore area. I grew up at the Hope Valley, kind of northeastern area of Adelaide.
Yep.
I'm born in 76, so I'm in my late 30s. So I first got into Port Adelaide in the mid-80s, mid to late, kind of 87, 88. Probably a good time, really.
Absolutely.
A mate of mine at school, his name was Adam Buckley.
Okay.
And his dad was one of the admin people, and Adam was a thicker cousin or second cousin of Nathan, and he was playing. I was playing footy. He was at my school, and his dad kind of took me to the games with Adam. My parents aren't big into the footy. They kind of like Port Adelaide, get them to watch from Sydney. They watch the games and stuff, but not big. So I didn't really have a family kind of get into it. I'm the kind of the first generation of big Port Adelaide fans, and I'll get my kids into it in the future. And yeah, so I was something that I just fell in love with through the mid to late 80s, and favourite player was Bomber Clifford and Stephen Curtis, and the mid and early 90s. I moved to Sydney in 93, so my love of Port Adelaide really grew again when then they got on board in 97. I was rapt to have them to be a national, kind of national team. So it's grown from there again, and it was back in Adelaide in early 2000, and got right back into it. Perfect time to be in Adelaide in 04, and went to Sydney again and back again, and so be back in Adelaide now and loving what's happening in the turnaround. Loving the I guess the national feeling about the way Port Adelaide is really touching the kind of Port Adelaide heartstrings of all our fans, not just here in Adelaide, but it's becoming a bit of a national and global strength again.
Now, what's your favourite match?
Always apart from the premiership. Look, it's almost like the week before the prelim.
Yep.
I think that was a very exciting match. I did love the fact that the St Kilda fans jumped on the ground and went all over jumped all over
Garrick.
Garrick. That was great because it really, the momentum was stopped. The other thing, I guess, the other game I've always had a special was last year. It was just that showdown. What a game!
It's a great one.
It's the bounce.
I was behind the goals there, and that was special. Yeah. I think there's been a lot of other ones, probably other ones with my little kids as well. My daughter, the West Coast game last year, that sealed it for my daughter. She jumped on board and been a big Power fan ever since.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that was huge. So there's been very special.
Fantastic. And your favourite player?
Tredre.
Treaders.
Wanganeen close. Tredre and probably Chad Corn. So they're the three.
Three big guns.
Tredre.
Love it.
Tredre number one.
That's it.
Well, Scotty Hodges, when I grew up, was someone I just absolutely admired. So he goes a very close number one to Tredre, probably.
Yep. Good stuff.
We got the power to win.
get straight into it. We're playing Geelong. It's going to be at Adelaide Oval. Hopefully a massive crowd of 45,000 people. Let's hope for that. Look, quite simply, it's time for Geelong's reign of terror over the Port Adelaide Footy Club to come to an end this Sunday. It's just got to happen. Since we thrashed them in the 2004 qualifying final, we've only beaten them once in the last 15 matches since that game, which was that last kick victory at Cardinia Park in 2007. They've had an average winning margin of 48 points in that time. Quite simply, it's time for Port Adelaide to stand up to its bully.
True.
Absolutely, Macca. We almost stood up in the semi-final there and just fell short, and we've been getting closer and closer as the last few years have been continuing to roll along, and it's going to be an epic game, really, isn't it? I mean, I think everyone's
huge,
massive.
Everyone's excited,
yeah.
And there's even talk of potentially maybe 50,000 people there. If we got 50,000 people, wouldn't that be absolutely amazing?
Can't see why there wouldn't be. Really couldn't. 47, 48, very possible.
It is.
I mean, it's a good time. I'll just quickly roll off some of these stats that I just got from the AFL stats page. I mean, when you compare the sides, I mean, you got Geelong 13th with 363 disposals. Port's got 381, so we're just marginally up on the disposals. You look at contested possessions. They're averaging 146. We're averaging 144.6. There's not even two between them there. Uncontested possessions, again, they're averaging 219. We're averaging 235. So we're marginally up on the uncontested possessions. The marks, we're similar again, 101 to 95. Clearances, this is where the anomaly starts coming in with Port and Geelong together, 35.6, 35.4. So we're almost identical. Centre clearances, we're equal 7th, 38.4. No, what are we? 35.4, 35.6. Again, almost identical. Stoppages, we're 15th and 16th. We're basically averaging 22. I mean, what I'm getting at is basically we are almost cloning each other in the stats, and it's just, and that's why we're, I guess, 1 and 2, and it's just the stats show that it's going to be just a fantastic and ripping game, and hopefully that flows through to on the field.
Bruce McAvaney, everybody. Well done.
Brilliant. What's their average age? Do you have that, Rico?
Bloody hell.
Oh, it would be a lot older than us. They've got a much older team. And I agree, statistically we do match each other very, very well. It's very much a cloning situation almost. If you look at the stat differential, it's very, very similar. I guess the main issues would be that Geelong average plus 14 tackles on their opponent. We only average plus 1. Inside 50s are very, very similar. Geelong average a lot more clearances against their opponent than we do. Contested possessions are equal, and uncontested possessions, they average plus 18, we average plus 9. So it seems like they spread better from their opponent as well.
Yep.
Well, did you guys see from the final siren the top 20 players between us in the last 5 games that I put up on the How to Beat Geelong thread the other day? Basically, we had Joel Selwood was top of the tree for them, then Steve Johnson, then Enright, James Kelly, Bartel, Harry Taylor, Andrew Mackie, all their
it's all the familiar names,
players.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and obviously it's a big bonus for us that Andrew Mackie's out.
Definitely.
It's a handy out.
Yep.
That takes a little bit of a chink out of their defensive structure, and and we spoke before we started about Motlop coming in, which is obviously going, if he's fit and comes in, he's going to be a great add for their side. But it just shows that it's their experienced players that have really dominated us, especially recently.
Big time. They're big time players too. That's the thing. When at certain moments they'll just they can score quickly, and they love the big time.
Well, the two top of the tree ones, Joel Selwood and Steve Johnson, I can't bloody stand them, but I can't stand them because they always tear us a new one.
Bartel too.
And I'm just over the moon that they don't have Paul Chapman anymore. I can tell you that right now.
That's right. Absolutely. Looks like Jack Homsch comes straight back in. He's named on the ground, so he'll be starting on Sunday.
Ian, sorry.
Who do we expect to go out? I think it's for me, it looks pretty obvious that Sammy Gray will probably fall out of the side this week.
For height, yep. But I'm thinking defender, maybe O'Shea, maybe. But Sam Gray's that makes sense. I thought O'Shea at first, but as you say, Gray, probably the defence needs to be there a lot stronger. So Cam O'Shea would be better off still on the side.
That's it.
I had a bit of a controversial opinion earlier in the week after I watched the game, where I was sort of suggesting that perhaps we shouldn't get caught up with too much height in our defence, because I didn't think they really had a tall forward line against Hawthorn. I mean, obviously Hawkins played an amazing game and dominated, and he's just a man mountain now. And one of their ruckmen came down and rested, but that was really their two tall focal forwards, and I'm not sure if we need to play an excessive amount of tall players. I know Cam can play a running game for us as well. He's a bit versatile there, but I just thought, we need. I mean, Jack on his form before he got injured deserved to be playing anyway. He was a fantastic player for us. So, I mean, the Cam O'Shea call might not be a bad one, because even though Sam Gray's influence last week wasn't as massive as the week before, we might need that crumbing, sharking presence up forward and in the midfield to help us try and get that clearance domination. And I really want to see us run from the defence, I guess. So now I'm contradicting myself, but I really want to see us run from the defence as well. So that needs to be taken into account. Do you guys understand what I'm saying there?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, for me, it's if you look at our side, we've got Westhoff and Schultz as our two key forwards. We've only got the one ruckman, so it really opens up Geelong to be able to play Harry Taylor up forward full time, and I think that's where we will really need Jack Homsch, because if they play Tommy Hawkins, Harry Taylor, and Hamish McIntosh up forward, then that's three tolls that we definitely have to look after.
Well, what's the conditions going to be? It's a twilight game. It's a game where you would you want some run. That's why Sam Gray, I think of him going as a sub too, because exposing with a bit of run at the in the last quarter.
Yep.
I think it's going to be a real running game.
Yeah, absolutely.
23, mostly sunny, southeasterly winds, 15 to 20 degrees.
Yeah, not raining or anything. It's going to be...
Nah. So it should be fantastic conditions for pure football.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, Homsch coming back in really frees up O'Shea to play his more natural game. I don't think he's not really a stopping key defender, is he? He's more someone that likes to chop out and run off and play more of a running game. So I reckon we'll see O'Shea come in. Or stay in, sorry.
Yeah.
Who's the sub?
Good question. Probably Youngie again, to be honest. Unfortunately for him, maybe Youngie or maybe Impey.
He's actually named in the 18, though. It's interesting.
Yeah, that doesn't matter.
He was last week as well, I think, so I don't think it really matters where it comes from. I would say either Young, Impey. That would be it, really.
Impey.
Yeah.
I was just going to say Impey because the press conference after the game last week, Hinkley gave the impression that he doesn't want to be having Aaron have too much of these sub kind of games. He wants to give him a bit more run.
Yeah.
So not putting him into the Magpie squad means that he's probably going to get a full game.
Yep.
I think with Motlop coming back, you have to be a bit reluctant to put Impey as a sub, though, wouldn't you?
That's the problem. They are a very, very quick team. Maybe we'll see Brody again, like in round one.
Good.
So how do you guys reckon? How's the game going to play out, like game style? I mean, I was really impressed with Geelong's style, their strategy. I didn't actually think the Hawthorn-Geelong game was a very fast game, but I thought Geelong were very smart where they chopped out Hawthorn's rebounding defenders or their precise kicking and really pressured them from the defence. And as it was brought up in the games, their kicking percentage from the defensive half was way below standard. So, Geelong's forward pressure there was great. I think, obviously we play a little bit differently to Hawthorn defensively there, where, we don't try to hold and chip. We just really try to run and go bananas. So do you think maybe Geelong's going to take the same approach, or do you think they're going to maybe take a saggy approach into this game and just try and get lots of numbers behind the ball, try and get the spoil, the turnover, and then do the quick rebound on us?
Oh, look, I think they'll do what they do against us most of the time, and that's kind of flood our half-forward line, get the numbers back, wait for the turnover or for the outnumbered marking contest, and then run it out really, really quick. I mean, it's killed us in the past, and that's something that we've really got to be mindful of. I'll say a bit more in one of our big four questions, but it's really up to our forward line that really needs to stand up and be a bit accountable for that sort of thing on the weekend.
Yep. Lock it in the 50.
Absolutely. I mean, Monfries would have been fantastic this weekend. It's a real pity that he's not there. But we really need to make sure that they can't set up from half back. As you said earlier, Rick Macca out is a huge out for them and a big bonus for us, because he's someone that has really chopped us up in the past. But, they've still got Taylor, they've still got Enright, they've still got Kelly, they've still got a lot of run coming out of that defensive line. And that's something that you just can't afford to let them have, because once they start running, it's bloody hard to stop with Geelong.
Yeah, I think our run. I just feel like, especially when they've just played a big game against Hawthorn on Monday, I know it's a positive thinking, and it's something that the fans will probably hope more than the players should less rely on. Is the we've had an 8-day break. The thing that was mentioned in the presser today by Hinkley was no excuses on coming back from Perth. It was a cooler evening game. It was we've had a 8-day break. They've had a 6-day break. I think the Dubai pre-season, all the heat type stuff has allowed for the boys to be able to be conditioned to come back from Perth and be ready. We got a Perth game in Fremantle at the end of the year, with possibly, if we play like this, we're in finals. So we cannot afford to have any excuses about going to Perth the week before. So the running game for me is where I think we can, if we can stick with them, hopefully we can kind of outrun them in the last quarter.
Well, that's it. That's where I think that's where we had the advantage in the first half in that final that we played against them last year, is that we did have that run. We did block their run from half back. And we had plenty ourselves. We got our forward line going. We had a really open forward line. We've just got to try and do that again, and this time hold our nerve and keep going. Kenny said in the off season that he made mistakes in that final. It's all on him.
Yeah, I saw that.
If we get a lead, we got to make sure we keep it and just go 100% the whole game this time.
I mentioned to you, Macca, after watching the Hawthorn Geelong game as well. I thought Geelong sagged really deep, which maybe gives us an opportunity to spot up targets between that 40 and 50 metre arc. And I know that's conflicting from my criticism going back all the way down from the Carlton game, where I said we were too shallow with our entries. And I'm not saying that we just bomb it from 100 metres out to the 50 metre line, because they'll just kill us that way. But and North Melbourne did it against Geelong last year as well, where they played a more possession game style and were really patient and chipped it around. Again, I'm not saying that I want us to do that, but what I'm thinking is from the half-back line, I think there might be an opportunity to do potentially a short kick, get over their first layer, and then try and run at the zone a little bit, and pressure them to run sag deep in the defensive 50, which might allow us to have a leading target where Monfries would have been fantastic, to lead up to around that 40 mark and try and hit a target there. Did you notice anything similar to that, like weakness-wise in their structure?
Yeah, I think we need to play. Sorry, mate. I think we need to play Schultzy very, very deep, straight out of the square. Everyone else has got to be out of the forward 50. Try and play a little bit of a Pagans Paddock style game, and I think that's somewhere where we could exploit their issues. We just got to make them accountable. Simple as that.
Yep. No, I agree. Jay Schultz needs to stay in the 50. I don't want to see him going up the ground a bit for this game. There's something about the team at the moment that just gives me a lot of confidence, though. I guess it was even just last week's game where I thought, it still could be exposed, but they're just enormous. I'm so impressed with the way our boys are going that where never before have I been more confident going into a game that's such a big game.
Yeah, me too. I'm very confident going into this one, and I think that's because the players have exuded that sort of confidence in themselves this year as well. You know, they're playing a very confident, very brave style of footy. It's great to see, and it's certainly something that could come off against Geelong this weekend.
Oh, absolutely. I think, again, today, Homsch and Jonas going up in the presser conference at the Burnside Village, those guys there's something about their almost 6 to 7 or 8 man defence now that just really supports each other. I don't think Carlisle being so intimidated by a giant like Hawkins will be an issue this time because and that's why it's good to have Homsch back in the team. The way the boys are going, you can always see a structure that it's almost carbon copy of the way they would have practiced throughout the week.
Yep.
And that they are just really absolutely believing in each other and supporting each other, and it's good sacrificial football. And it's good.
As we said before, it's basically going to be battle of the clones this game because we like to play a +1 in defence. Geelong like to play a +1 in defence. We both like to play that sort of slingshot style footy. We both spread really, really well. We've both got fantastic key forwards. We've both got very, very good smaller forwards and very, very quick midfielders. So it's definitely battle of the clones. And it's just going to be about holding our nerve, making sure that when the Geelong attack comes, because we know it's going to come, we just got to stand strong and keep with what we're doing. If we do that, I think we'll come out on top.
I totally think that now it's about us attacking them instead of them attacking us. It's us asking them the question.
Yep.
That's something that we've got that now. We've got the players to be able to do that.
And I guess the other question is, do we actually allow Geelong to have that spare man in defence, or do we make that person a bit more accountable?
No, we've got to make him accountable.
Who'd be that man in defence? Usually it's Macca. Who do you think is going to be there? I mean, apart from obviously using Taylor, but he's more of a main backbone of their defence, isn't he?
Oh, look, I think Rivers can play that role for Geelong. He can play that sort of loose defensive player. Enright can play that role. Guthrie, although I expect he'll probably go to someone like Boak or Hartlett. And then it's probably someone like maybe Taylor Hunt, someone like that.
I love that at the moment, guys, with our side is the ability to have even 11 or 12 guys go in the middle. I'm loving that about our side. That is making us extremely unpredictable to the opposition.
Absolutely.
It's a massive weapon.
Definitely. Well, who do we see going to Stevie Johnson? Do we see someone like Tommy Jonas going to him again?
Oh, if he goes in the forward line, yeah. But I'd say in middle, I'd be putting probably not Wines, probably not fast enough or something, but maybe a Ebert or Hartlett.
Yep.
Yeah. I'd go the predictable, and I'd just run Jonas with him everywhere. I mean, Jonas has had that midfield run before, and Johnson's got such an influence. I don't think we even risk playing the game of having a midfielder run on him in the midfield and then Jonas match him up in the forward line. Let's just run Tommy the whole game against Stevie J, and we know that Tom's fantastic at playing a lockdown role, and if he's given a job like that, and and he can and he's strong, so he can just get in Johnson's face, just push him around, just niggle him, just agitate him enough to try and distract him without pushing him too far to get him focused. I'd be imploring the coaching staff after our disappointment of them not listening to any of our matchups last week. I don't know what's going on there. I mean, I thought they were all listening in and using us to get their selections and matchups going. But
Matty Nix has to be listening to us here.
Surely.
Hopefully they run Tom Jonas with them. And unless Jonas is getting carved up, I'd just leave him on him the whole game.
Yep. Fair call.
Tom Jonas, I like, is someone that doesn't seem to be emotional, let things get to him that much. He's a very level-headed on the field.
Yep.
That's why they've got him in the leadership group, I suppose.
Absolutely. Now, what about Joel Selwood? Second in clearances, third in contested possessions, and as always, number one in freeze 4 in the AFL. Do we see Kane Corns doing a job on him, or maybe someone else?
Yeah, I'd probably run Kane on Selwood because I think Kane's. Well, I don't think I know. Kane's got the discipline to take that job. I mean, he's done it for the last decade. So I mean, if that's what he's told to do, he can execute that. I mean, and Jonas and Kane are fantastic at that. And I guess what does that do then for Kasisi? Where does that leave Kasisi in relation to matchups?
I reckon Kasisi might go to someone like Stokes.
Yeah.
Not too fast. It wouldn't have too much leg speed for Dom.
I don't think so.
Gets the support. I think he can get that support. That's where Empty can play a role there.
Yep.
That's where the guys are now having it's not just 2 or 3 guys defending. It is a whole group together, really defending, looking after each other.
Yep.
That's why Kasisi is able to be out there longer than he is, I reckon, than he would have previously.
Yep.
Would you look at maybe Dom playing a defensive half-forward role?
Yeah, it could happen. Yep. Well, look, let's go on to our Big Four, which is the Big Four questions we ask at the end of every one of these preview podcasts. Sulstar, mate, I might start with you. Whose time is it to stand up?
Carlisle, for me. Especially because of Hawkins. Not because of Carlisle himself, but just because of who he's got.
Yep.
He's got a guy that is in ripping form. He's an absolute Goliath and giant on Monday against Hawthorn, and I think he needs a lot of support around him. So I think it's almost the defence needs to stand up and have a big game, but Carlisle himself, and I think he can do it. And I think it's something that is a negative kind of time to stand up. It's a positive for him to stand up and actually get some, especially Victorian media kind of credibility, and for people to say, "Wow, he's awesome." No wonder Port Adelaide got him on a 5-year contract. No wonder this is what they've seen in him.
Yep. Good call. I like that one.
I'm going cryptic again, and it's time for our belief to stand up. The boys have shown us the last year that they've got the goods, but we haven't had the goods over Geelong, and I want to see the boys continue to play a positive, attacking, run and carry game, take the game on, and just keep believing that they can actually win the game. And I tell you what, if they carry that through, I've got the utmost confidence that they'll win the game. And if they do win the game, I think that will be the game that will pretty much show that we're a top 4 side.
Yep.
Yeah, good one.
Good stuff. For me, it's the forward line. It's just got to be the forward line. That's where we've broken down so many times against Geelong over the past, 10 years now. Over the last 6 or 7 years, we've just allowed them and their defenders far too much space just to set up. Guys like Enright, Taylor, Kelly, and going into the past, guys like Harley and Scarlett as well. They've just had field days against Port Adelaide as our forward line has just been far too unaccountable. We just need to make sure that they can't set up their slingshot from half back. Don't allow them to get their run going from the back lines. As I said earlier, once it starts, it's bloody hard to stop. So for me, it's just got to be the forward line. Rick Buddy, the danger man. Who is it?
Jeez, take your pick, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Really. Yeah, look, I'm going to go with Stevie J.
Yep.
For me, I think we really need, and I mean, he was great against Hawthorn. I hate to say it. Like I said, I can't stand him because he's bloody so good. But yeah, he really stood up against Hawthorn. Great game by him, and I think him and Selwood, we just got to lock them down. But yeah, if we can lock down Stevie J's influence, because the players seem to feed off of him as well, I think that will go a long way.
Yep, good call. Sulstar?
Yeah, mine is Harry Taylor. I just think he's someone we need to watch. I mean, they have danger men on every line. So, as you said, Rick, it's take your pick. But for me, I think we need to kind of watch him because I hate how we've had games where he's ended up kicking 3 or 4 goals himself and he spent kind of 3/4 of the time in defence, but still got away and just get some cheap ones. And I just would like to see him being really looked after by that's what I think. Westhoff, I'd like to see him stick on him. Westhoff and obviously Tringove, when he goes up forward, just tell him to go back to where you belong in the defence.
Yep.
You needed there, mate. That's where the scoreboard pressure comes into play. So hopefully he doesn't feel comfortable to get himself going up the forward line too much.
Nice work. For me, I'm going to go a little left of centre and say Cameron Guthrie is my danger man. Just simply because he's had such a fantastic start to the year. He's a great size. He's very hard to knock off the ball. He's got decent skills. He's got a decent turn of pace. And he's turning into such a fantastic tagger. We saw him destroy Dangerfield in round 1. And we just can't allow him to physically maul someone like Boak or Gray or Harlett or Ebert the way that he did to Danger in round 1. For me, he's just got to leave Adelaide Oval absolutely battered and bruised, and knowing that he's played against Port Adelaide. Now, the key to winning, Sulstar.
I think our run can expose Geelong. Like I said before about a 6-day break, and I think that is something, our last quarter run, I think if we stay close to them on the scoreboard pressure will be very important, which is where I agree with what you're saying about standing up in the forward line. Make sure we're the ones stringing the goals, 2 or 3 or 4 goals together and stopping them from getting their kind of momentum. If that is the key to winning, is as our running them off their legs. And the fact is, we've got the home crowd. If they're up and roaring, a big start like we've been doing. We don't even know how to talk about our slow starts anymore because they're not an issue. So if we can just have, I guess, just create an electric atmosphere with the boys just run. I see that being the key. Staying with them too. Staying with them. Don't get overawed when they kick 2 goals in a row. Don't keep heads up. Don't get heads down and start to kind of be overawed by the Geelong. Yeah, I guess the monster that is Geelong.
Yep.
Good stuff. Yeah, I don't know now. He's stolen my thunder. I'll go with composure. No, you're right, mate. I'll go with composure. I think, as I said earlier, we want to be composed with the ball, not panic, not just blaze away recklessly. I want us to run, attack the forward 50, but make sure we've got a leading target and drop our eyes, because if we spot up that leading target quickly and use our first instinct, what that will mean is they can't sag too deep, which will then allow us to be able to kick long without the numbers there. So we just need to be smart and composed with the footy. And if we can do that, along with the crowd and along with the run and carry, I think that will take us on the road to victory.
Yep. Nice work. Agree 100% there. For me, I've been thinking about this all week. I've churned through about 10 different ideas, but for me, it just comes down to 2 words. We've just got to be brave. Simple as that. Ken talks about wanting us to be a brave football team. And that doesn't mean, putting your head over the bowl and backing into packs, that sort of thing. That goes without saying. But to beat Geelong, I think we just need to be brave. We need to play brave football. I want to see us back our game plan in, really take it up to Geelong at their own game. I want to see us be brave in putting intense physical pressure on in the midfield. I want us to see us be brave in playing fast running, attacking, attack-minded footy. It's just time that the mental and physical dominance that Geelong Footy Club has had over Port Adelaide comes to an end. It's just got to be this weekend where it happens. I think we've finally got a team that's strong enough, both physically and also determined enough mentally, to not wither at the hands of this Geelong footy team any longer. If we be brave, I think we'll win the game. If we go in with a defensive mindset, play slow defensive footy, I think we're going to lose. So be brave, boys, and back yourselves in.
I don't think it's natural in their DNA now. Just even some of the stuff I've watched in the last couple of weeks, it doesn't come natural to stop and slow down for our boys. They absolutely back each other in. It's not that they will play that running and just first give football.
That's it. Absolutely. Now, prediction, Rick. Who's going to win?
I was going to sing "We Are Geelong," but I can't bring myself to do it. I'm going to hold the faith, and I'll let you be the turncoat once again, Macca, and pick against Port.
Yeah, what was that all about?
And I'm
Steady.
going to take Port for the win.
Yes.
I know we can do it.
Get in. How much?
I'm going to go 23 points.
Oh,
Nice.
23.
Nice.
I'd like that.
I like that. Sulstar?
Well, that would be good. No pressure with the last 5 minutes or so with 23 point. Yeah, that'd be good. My heart says Port by 9 points. Initially throughout the week, my head said Geelong by 9. But no, I think my head's now saying, especially looking at Macca out, I'm going to go with head and heart saying Port Adelaide will win this game.
Fantastic.
By 9 points.
Beautiful.
Yep.
All right, for me...
Come on then, Macca.
Geelong by 57. Thanks very much. No. Look, as Ken said last year, he made mistakes in that semi-final last year. I can't see us making those same mistakes again. He'll want to beat Geelong just as much as the supporters will. If we find ourselves in a lead early, and I think we do need to lead early, I can't see us getting overrun this time. We'll be in front for the journey. Obviously, the question then becomes whether we can actually get that lead. I think with the big home crowd there, I'm hoping for 45,000 plus. I'm hoping we can see a Port side win by 21 points this weekend.
Oh, good.
Well, I'll just have to change that on the tipping chart. Seeing you, I had you down for Geelong by 7.
Oh,
but do you guys agree that for the sporting psychology of our team, it is a massive game for us? And I know it's a bit of a cliche, but in the scheme of the whole season and the confidence, and as I said earlier, I think if we can just drive a win home here, that's going to give these boys ever-growing belief, I think, for the rest of the year that they can take on anyone and they can beat them. And I just think if they win, it's almost like, in a way, our season's almost on this game, in a way, like for how the rest of the season's going to pan out for us.
I just think ever since the day that we announced that Ken Hinkley was the coach, I thought, well, if you look at the 07 grand final, I have not seen that. I can't bear myself to watch it that much, but there is a guy in that, in the assistant coach's box, alongside Bomber on that day. His name was Ken Hinkley. He's there. He was there when Westhoff missed that goal against Gold Coast. He knows. He owes us big time. I'm so glad he's the coach, because when we win the premiership down the track, he's going to be holding that cup up because he owes us big time.
Yep.
He knew how to damage us, and I feel like he was almost a little overwrought and got. It's great that it was so good for him to be able to admit that he was heavily involved in that loss of the semi-final last year with some of the things he did.
Indeed.
Because I want him to get over the stigma of being overwrought himself by Geelong. And I think this is a big game towards that himself, not just for our boys, but for him to know that because we are building it. Let's face it, we're building a Geelong style dynasty within our Port Adelaide, I guess, structure of everything that we exist to be. Like he said, he's almost born to be our coach.
That's it.
I think this is a big game for him.
This is just a huge game for the Port Adelaide Footy Club. Just
good point.
100%. I mean, everyone's getting ready to write us off. Crow supporters are expecting us to lose. I think a lot of AFL supporters, I think a lot of the media are expecting us to lose, and they're getting their pens ready to write us off and say that we've had just an easy start to the season. I mean, we definitely need to win this game just to stand up for ourselves, to stand up to the media. And if you look at the two next home games after that, we play Fremantle and Hawthorn. I mean, you can't get much bigger than that. I mean, I do believe that a lot of this season is riding on the result this week. And if we have a positive result, we will go into those games against Freo and Hawthorn with a hell of a lot of confidence that, hey, we can beat the top four. We are a top four side ourselves.
Well, that's the thing. We're two on the ladder. And I've not heard us still get that respect, and everyone talks about all the other teams, and quite rightly so. But look out now, because the media always say stuff that internally within clubs they wouldn't be. That Geelong and Hawthorn, Freo, they wouldn't be downplaying us and just thinking they walk over here and just snag the 4 points.
No.
So they're not that stupid to do that. So we need to, I guess, it's really, you're right, statement is got to be stamped in this game. Is a lot. This starts our month. I think it's not. I don't know if the result is really the big thing as much as what we see during the game.
Yep.
Because I'm not still too disappointed about that North Melbourne loss. I just thought that was awesome. Every game we played this year, I've been impressed.
Yep, me too.
Yeah.
All right, Rick, do you want to tell us a little bit more about the competition?
The competition, Macca, we've had a lot of shares already, so I thank people for that and I encourage them. So once again, go to the Big Footy page on Facebook and look out for the podcasts and feel free to share our review podcast from Tuesday or any of the upcoming ones, and you will go into the draw to win the 2 tickets to Port v Hawthorn for the locker room. As we've spoken about before, that means you get to go an hour before the game. There's free drinks for before the game. There's snacks. Get to see the boys warm up in the change rooms behind the glass. You get a guest speaker at the halftime break where Macca and I were there for the last game. Chad Wingard came out and had a chat, which was fantastic for him making the time. It's a fantastic opportunity, and I'm glad to be sharing it with everyone that supports and follows the podcast. If you're not on Facebook, as a few people have said, surely you know someone that's on Facebook. Do a deal with them or whatever, and tell your grandkid or your daughter or whatever to share it for you, and you'll bash them up for the tickets up if they're the one that randomly wins.
Spread the word.
But just get out there and spread the word. And like I said, it's my donation from me and my business just to sort of just get the word out there, because the more support we get, the more recognition we'll get within the footy club, and hopefully that will open up more potential to speak to people like we had with Tim Ginniver the other day, which was fantastic, and everyone's feedback was that they loved it, and so what we'd hope is we can get more people providing their time to share their love for Port Adelaide. So that's the whole plan about it. So
fantastic.
Get out there, support
That's
it, and the more times you put your name down, you go into the draw more than once, and we'll pull a rabbit out of the hat, and hopefully whoever wins and enjoys the experience.
Fellas,
Indeed.
these two podcasts per week are better than any other radio show anywhere, hands down. So if you're a Port fan, this is where you want to be listening and getting your Port fix.
Cheer, cheer the black and the white. Honour the Magpies day and by night. Live that loyal...
Now onto the SANFL game. We've got Port Adelaide versus West Adelaide at Alberton Oval on Saturday afternoon. The last 10 games against West Adelaide, we are 3-7, so we need to turn that around. Traditionally, over the last 3 or 4 years, Port versus West games have been absolutely horrible, low-scoring, dire affairs. Let's hope for a better one this week. Renouf's back in. Zach Hawkins has come in for his first game at SANFL level for the year, as is Reiki Waza, and it looks like Brendan Archie and Slattery are out.
Yeah, interesting one. West Adelaide, they're hot and cold, and they could surprise us, but we're a different side, so we should win, but I don't think we'll be damaging like the last 2 weeks.
No.
Well, we had that as a hot topic conversation, I guess, was the dominance of Port in the SANFL over the last 2 weeks, and I think the Crows have stepped it up a gear as well. Is it a sign of things to come, or is it just a bit of an enigma at the moment, and it will all level itself out? What are you guys feeling there?
Oh, look, it'll level itself out. Once the injuries hit to the AFL sides, which is bound to happen, more and more young players are going to go into that SANFL side, and they're not going to be as dominant. Simple as that.
Yeah, finding myself privately just really happy when there's a goal from the opposition because I just know, I know it's coming from everyone else but Port supporters. If we just smash every side, the backlash is just going to be unreal. So I like the fact that I just want us to win by 4 or 5 goals each game. Just so we win, but we're not dominant. It's just.
We can save our 150-point victories for Glenelg every time, but outside of that, just a nice standard 3 or 4 goal win would be nice and pleasurable.
Well, at the game at Woodville the other day, just hearing from everyone around, this is not a contest. This is unfair. And Paul Stewart, you're an Eagles man at heart, and just all the things that were just there was a lot of. It's just pretty uneasy. Puts us in an uneasy position, but I guess in the long term, it's going to be okay. Everyone will forget about it. No one complains years later. It's just immediate at the forefront of everyone's mind now. When everyone gets used to it, it should be okay. I hope it just lifts the standard of the SANFL. Makes these guys that are going to get walloped from AFL teams in to some degree it'll lift the standard of the SANFL teams. But also, you're right. There's going to be injuries. Port aren't always going to be that strong. We've got players. You can't. Even the game against Eagles, some of the dominant players that played really well were of the SANFL players. Like Robbie Young was awesome.
Yep.
Carl Amon, yes, he's now full time a footy player, but you wouldn't think that Carl Amon should be just absolutely running rings around some of the Eagles players the other day, but he was.
Yeah,
Summerton was awesome.
Yep.
Burn Jones. Yeah, I don't, and even some of our players that are in the Port Adelaide Maggie's side that are power players. There's a reason why they're not in the AFL squad. They've still got work to do.
Yep.
So you can't really, Cam Hitchcock, unfortunately, will probably stay. Unfortunately for himself, will stay the Maggie's player for a while, I think. So you wouldn't be saying some of these players are just going to absolutely tear the house down and they're not full-on AFL players. So interesting to see what happens in the long run. Give it a year or two. Johnny Butcher, guys, he's still there.
Yep.
Half forward. What did you think of his game in regards to, just how do you feel to go this week?
Well, we just need to see more. We just need to see him more competitive. That's all it comes down to, is being competitive. Conditions
weren't the best the other day for forwards and tools, but he does like Alberton, so...
Yeah.
Well, I'd be hoping that he backs it up. I'd like to see mid-teen disposals, half a dozen marks, and even if it's only a couple of goals, I just want to see him really influencing the game. This is his fifth season now in the system.
Yeah.
Or fourth season in the system, so he should be now really stepping up on a consistent level, and I think a lot of the Port supporters they love him and they support him, and as do I. But now it's time. Now it's time for him just to stand up and show us that he can be that key forward, and he needs to show us this at SANFL level. And Andrew Moore produced that big game after injury last week, so I'm hoping that he racks up a couple more. That's what we were hoping from him early at the start of last season, and he did it, and he came on into the side and played great.
He was brilliant. I'm a big Morey fan. I've been chatting to him the other day at the Port Canal. He's a gun, and he'll be in the power squad by the end of the year, hopefully as a regular, depending on form and injuries and stuff. But he's a guy that is certainly keeping all the other players that are in the AFL squad, in the AFL team week in, week out. I reckon he's keeping them on their toes, because he's
absolutely
could easily be playing against Geelong this week.
Definitely. All right. Well, thanks for coming on, Sulstar. It's great to have you on for your first time on the podcast.
Pleasure, guys. Yeah, a bit overawed at first. I'm speaking to footy royalty and you guys. I mean, listening to you here and there. I am pinching myself a bit. I can't believe this is a great opportunity. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Pleasure.
Yeah, you're talking about Macca as footy royalty, obviously. Obviously, I'm not. We refer to Macca around here as Lord Macca because he gets a gig on the major port site, and everyone bows down to him. I'm just the pleb in the background, so. But I'll take it. I'll go in with the footy royalty, so that's good.
Well, Macca, when I saw your avatar, Bob's Burgers avatar, mate, I thought, yeah, you're a legend.
Gotta love Bob's Burgers. Fantastic TV show.
Now, thank you very much, guys. And I if I can only be as lucky to kind of get on again down the track, that'd be great. But
no doubt,
it's been a privilege. I really appreciate it.
Awesome, Rick, as always, buddy.
Yeah, pleasure, guys. Good one. We've gone for a while, so hopefully the punters enjoy it, and let's hope we get over 50,000 to the game.
We'll see you at Adelaide Oval.
And I'll be there in the McGarry room, willing to hand out business cards to Jasper at any time. So I'm happy to say hello to anyone else that's not Jasper related either.
We are really making that our second Alberton home, isn't it? Adelaide Oval was just becoming a cauldron for Port Adelaide. I'm feeling that so much so. I love that at the moment. That's it. It is exciting.
All right,
Thanks
boys.
Again, Macca.
No worries.
Thanks,
Go Ports.
Have a good one.
Go Port Adelaide.
Go Ports.
Go Tower.
Go Ports.
One last hurrah. Loads up. They need a mark and then a goal. Westhoff almost. Motlop couldn't quite. Enright. Good tackle. Cassisi to win it. Cassisi does win it. Oh!